total worth of all those homes together was quite a bit. So I went to my command and I was like, listen, I don't need to be here anymore.
So how long were you in the military, bro?
I was only in the military for a short time, literally like I think 2.5 years. Really wasn't one cut out for it. Two, I started making a lot more money and was able to kind of, I'm just say just leave, but basically they have this requirement in the military where if you make over a certain amount of money, you can buy yourself out of your contract. So I got to a point where I was renting at least 25 homes to the people in my own squadron at my own
Mhm.
base. And I realized very quickly that, the total worth of all those homes together was quite a bit. So I went to my command and I was like, listen, I don't need to be here anymore. And they were like, oh, okay, fantastic. It wasn't that easy, but we started the process to get me exited out from there. And that's what I really focused on was like, well, I mean, if these guys have to live the same way, then there are other people that got to live the same way. And I don't think people like living that way. So let me go see what I can do to go make it happen.
And so you're even today, your life is about military communities, about military um, families, military investments, right, into those kind of communities. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so it kind of started off that way. It's kind of grown a little bit more to what I like to call more of an economic development concept, where if you look at a military base, right, a lot of people are like, why do we spend so much money on the military? Well, if people who understand that sentence can deduct that and say how much we spend on the military, it's about $23 trillion a year, sometimes more, right? And that's not even on just our own military, but other militaries. Well, the way a military base function is people get stationed someplace that is generally god awful. People don't like being there because it's in the middle of nowhere, far away from everything, and it's secluded, as a military base should be for strategic purposes, right? With that being the case, these people now have to live there. There has to be a group of people that can cater to these people's needs, which are food, water, electricity, right? There has to be this community built around this military base. All that to say that money, that trillions of dollars, gets broken down into, we'll call it $1.6 billion per military base of GDP output into those communities. And a lot of people don't capture that. So I go and I buy homes that are $35,000. I fix them up and then I place military members in them, but I will fix up an entire neighborhood of homes. That way, for my investors, there's value in the housing price as it goes up. Same thing with the rental market, right? I'm basically creating comps over a steady period of time. And then I create the areas that make it fun to live there, right? The reason people like living in New York, San Francisco, because everything is right there and it's convenient. I'm not going to create a New York or San Francisco, but what I am going to create is a sandwich shop, the strip club, the bar, the whatever they need to put there. I'm going to put it right where I built all those new homes. Now these military members are spending their hard-earned money there for their groceries, for their gas, for everything that they need to sustain their community. That money then goes into the actual community with the civilians who have to live there, who aren't military. They can now afford better housing and they rent that rehabbed housing from me. So I focus on sustaining community growth because that's where the real money is kind of made with what we do is, hey, listen, like I'm helping these people gain equity in their communities and develop and grow while also giving the military members something to do on the weekends and have a good time. And we basically just recycle that cash through that exact same economy instead of it going from one place and going far out, it stays here and grows from here.
So how'd you get started? Like, when was the beginning? Like, so sold your first business when you were in high school, right? And then you got out of high school, you went into the military, right? And then you wanted to get out of the military because now you suddenly owned a bunch of homes. So where was that bridge?
The bridge for me was, I think, like day 3 of basic training. They sit you in this room and you go through your classes, right? And all these classes are here's what the military offers you, here's what it pays for. And I'm like, wow, the military pays for all that, huh? And I start thinking to myself, okay, well, if the military is going to pay for that, what I started doing was I had this journal that I wrote all these different businesses in. And I have that journal sitting on my bookshelf, but it's got like 150 different businesses in there. And I was able to deduct, well, all these businesses rely on one thing and one thing only, real estate. And I was like, okay, well, how do I create the area that these people want to really be in? How do I bring these businesses here? Because that was the big challenge for me, was like, in these markets, the commercial properties looked like complete garbage. The roofs were caved in. It was going to cost a lot of money to fix them up. So I had to build capital. I had to be able to make sure I could like get a loan to do this if I needed to get a loan. So I was like, okay, well, I'll start with one house. Bought one house and rented it out. And it was like, wow, I'm making really good money off this one house. And I was able to partner with a few different investors to say, hey, listen, here's what we can make happen if we do X and Y, right? If we go and buy 38 of these homes and 48 of those apartment complexes, we can get to, a standard rate of return of 25% a month or something like that. And that's what we built. And I had to go and pitch it. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. It was terrible. But once I got it and kind of became like the expert in military housing and tertiary markets, it became a lot simpler.